We may have had a difference.
Slow it down. First job that I live right, and I'm never gonna let you out of my side. I've been knocked out, was a nice try, but I guess I get to keep my head on this time. Part of the creation, the relations I've got, the only one that keeps me safe, the only one you should trust. For sure, it ain't right that I have checked the speck of dust from all of its sides. Fall down, that from my height, cause I didn't see the plank I have in my eye. You hear in yourself when no one's to be found. What keeps you eased out? What takes you off your mind?
Guess you want this, I want this. Everybody in this, we should have it. Stop illusions, it's in your hands. Show yourself, reveal it to them. Take the time to recognize it. You won't leave me even if I tried it. You're the artist in the mess and happily perform the new in your hands.
Big dog status, I'm a big dog vet. I pull up on the block in a big Corvette. Yeah, ride around the city with a stick all black. Try with a stroke, but we ain't with all that. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Made $1 million and I can't go back. Got a lot of jewelry on me, man, you can't hold that. 12 asking better, tell him that I ain't so crack. Know your money long when your people can't afford that. I'm ballin', yeah. My mama told me that did my calling. I keep that stick, I don't do no brawling. Open out the doors and let them all in here. Yeah, they all in here. Ooh, big dog. We come out the pound, so we big dog. Heavy paddock on me, break my wrist off. I'm young out of rocket, about to lead dog. 3, 2, 1, I got big dog status, I'm a big dog vet.
What is up, entrepreneurs? Welcome, creators, back to the Friday Live Helpcast with me, your hostess, the mostess, Diana Gladney. I'm so pumped, proud, pleased, and excited to be here with you on another fine Friday. Thank God it's Friday. It's going to be Saturday and then Sunday. And then, you know, a lot of people have issues around Monday, but we're going to do a little thank God it's going to be Monday. Okay, if you get a chance to see it. So it's a great day. Okay, beautiful, wonderful Friday. I don't know if y'all got any winter weather stuff going on, but needless to say, here in the Midwest, it's getting a little bit chilly. So it's time to pull out the sweater and things. But hope you're having a great Friday. We're going to do a little bit of shopping, a little pre-Friday, pre-Black Friday shopping for after Thanksgiving. So if you're having issues finding the stuff that you need, this is the stream that you want to be on. We're just going through, taking some looks ahead at what's coming down the road. I don't need it to buy anything, honestly, except for a monitor. That's the only thing I need to buy. I'm not buying anything right now, but we're just going to do a little looking around, how to find the best deals, how to make sure that you don't kind of get the okie doke because last year that's what it felt like, a little bit of the okie doke with a lot of these different companies going through the wrench around type situation. But hope you're having a great Friday. If you got any questions about content creations, cameras, using your stuff, getting the look that you want, hashtag any of the things, make sure you comment down below. We are also live over on LinkedIn. I've yet to see any LinkedIn comments come in that way. So if you are on LinkedIn, you might want to come over to the YouTube sphere where the party is happening. And if you're watching this live or on the replay, thanks for being here. First comment of the day saying, hi, friend from Noel Swatolski. Hi, Noel. Appreciate you jumping in. Saying, I just have to jump in another meeting, but wanted to be the first comment. Have a great life. Let's see. Friends with friends. Friends help friends stream. So I appreciate that, Noel. I know you got your stream hours kind of coincide at the same time, but so I want to take a look at some deals today. And because all of us usually are going to be somewhere in the, at least looking around, we're going to be somewhere in the Amazon space. So I want to take a look over yonder and see what kind of deals are starting to pop up and whether or not this is really quote unquote a good deal. When it comes to cameras, which is the thing that most people are looking to buy, maybe there's some accessories like I was talking about last week, that ALVAS, that Alvis hierarchy of investments that I talk about, as I talk about in my book. But the A stands for audio, L for lighting, V for video. That's when you start getting into your camera stuff. And then The other A is for accessories, and then the final S is software and systems. Because when you start to get into the nitty gritty of your stuff, you really want to make sure that you have all of the components, because a lot of people focus on the big buys like the camera, which is always fun, but at the same time it's never the best, you know what I mean, to only look at that, because it's other components that go with it. And then just to make sure everybody's clear across the board, that's the order that you should buy. ALVAS, audio, lighting, video. That's when you get into your camera stuff. Third, not first, even though I love cameras, it's first in my heart. Audio takes precedence over that. So I want to take a look and see if some of my favorite microphones potentially, allegedly, are available, and what kind of prices that we're looking at, because I'm gonna be honest with you, Black Friday don't have the allure that it used to back in the day, where it used to be like 70, 80% off of something. So I don't know what's going on with retailers, shrinkflation, more air in the bag of chips, more air and everything. So that's what we're paying for. So hopefully that's not the case this year. But we're going to take a look at some deals and see what's what. And we are going to go ahead and jump into the cameras, because that is what's popping up first, at least for me over on the Zon. So let's take a look-see and see what we got going on around there. So on Amazon, first up page, you're going to get recommended whatever, but they show things that I usually look at. Cameras, whatever, for Sony. Again, we'll get into all the other stuff for accessories and all that. But let's take a look at some camera deals and see what's popping over yonder. And not like the Ring cameras, but that's a thing. I'm mostly looking to see, like when we look at these specific stuff, they're also looking at things that have been in my cart before, things that I've bought before, hashtag, or similar to other stuff that I would have. So, gotta be honest, sometimes if you need a second or a third camera, sometimes that could be best done with a model before, or the model before your camera. So I got the ZV-1. It wasn't anything before that, but if you go down through the line, you may be able to get some for APS-C or some other full frame like the A7 III, stuff like that. So this is not too big off of what the normal price is. We're going over to B&H. And this is how you do it. You just want to cross compare, no different than what most people are used to. But when it comes to cameras specifically, so $31.98, there's no deal. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not, or more or less, they're price matching, so it's not a big of a deal. Sometimes you can find bundles, and that's better. But let's go over to one of my favorite shops, which is mpb.com. It's like Michael, Paul, Brad.com. You can tell I've never been in the military. But so now if you really are looking for, let's say, a used model, but at a cheaper price, because new is not going to be at that price, then we start to look over here. We're not looking at the modified or whatever. So let's go price lowest to highest, just to see what is up with the lowest model. It's excellent condition. So we can see just real quick, sometimes just thinking outside the box of, can I find this gently used? Like, imagine if I gave you one of my cameras, would you really feel like that's a bad buy? Or do you feel like that's, you know what I'm saying, like used or terrible? More than likely, probably not. And that's the kind of stuff that you're looking at when you're looking at MPB or whatever. B&H has a used section, and usually they will tell you, like, if it is used from 26, 21, and then 26 or 25, 29. So again, they still have the better price over on MPB. That's where I like to shop, honestly, most of the time, if you're looking for gear and stuff like that. But just to give you a little bit of the thinking outside the box, just because it has that Black Friday red tag there, it's like, oh, save 9%, which usually would be tax. Compared to what it is brand new already, it's not that big of a drop there. So that one's a bust. But let's keep looking. So same thing, I would venture to say is going to be the same, because 5%, it's just not that big of a deal for prices. You know what I mean? So let's take a look here at the FX3. And I'm be giving out all the goods. I'm not going to hold anything back from you. I'm going to share with you all my stuff of how I find the best cameras that are thebeesknees.com. So this one, $36.98. So we're just going to do FX3. And again, look at what you actually need, what you are actually going to buy. Because sometimes, just because if you buy off price, sometimes that's the worst way to buy your gear. Because if, and I mean if you really know what you need, You got your list of non-negotiables. Like it must live stream. It must have excellent autofocus. It must have 4K. Like these are the baselines that if I'm going to recommend a camera and you're doing it for content creation, you want to make money from your stuff, whatever, it's got to have certain things. For me, it's like, it's got to have reliable autofocus. It can't be a question about if it's going to, like, if I turn my head, is it still going to see a person, or is it going to go look at the books and find one of the titles on the shelf more interesting? So stuff like that, that's a non-negotiable. It has to live stream, whether that be USB-C or whether that be, or not USB-C specifically, but USB, or whether that be clean HDMI, which to me at this point is a staple. It's not a must-have, but I think it is for most people. But if you have USB, then it usually has clean HDMI at this point. Microphone port. How heavy you get into content creation determines if you can get away with having a headphone port or not. But for base level cameras at this point, in my opinion, it should have a headphone port because they most of the time do. But if you find one that is cheaper, we're going to look at some cheaper models here in a second versus being in the stratosphere of Bees Knees Hall of Fame cameras. We're going to go a little bit lower. Okay, get down to a little bit of still white chocolate status. It's not Bees Knees. Okay, this is the hierarchy here. We're going to get through that. Mother Oats in the building. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Saying, I expected more from the Sony A1 Mark II. It's more like an A1 1.5, not a 2. And you know what? Honestly, let's pull up the Sony A1 because that did come out. It's going to do 2. It did come out. And I think the thing is this. Most of the time, where's my crisp stuff? FYI, those of you that have asked, there it is, that have asked about like why the audio is so good now, or background noise, like no background noise. Crisp.ai. Hopefully that goes on sale and that's something I can share. So let's take a look. Recent news, new release here, the Sony A1 Mark II. I mean, it's kind of hard. I think it's a hard market right now because everything is already so good. And this is no excuse of like, oh, it just sugar. And it's like, what else could they throw in or give? There are things, but also I'm thinking also logically about this. Like base level cameras now that we have issues with concern with like overheating or whatever. You know what I mean? And it's again, concerns with it. Matter of fact, I don't even know if I turned on my camera fan today. Matter of fact, let's pause for the calls. Make sure. I think I did. Yeah. So stuff like that. I'm like, better be precaution. Take the precaution then. Better be safe than sorry. But it's like stuff like that. So like my camera airboat is what I just turned on more or less. And so that's where my camera sits. Let me get readjusted here for a sec. You know, as Doc would say, short people, we need assistance. Forget you, Doc. Love you, brother. So, like, let's look at the specs real quick, and I'll talk about more on that. If you look at this, 50 megapixels, 8K 30, which, unless you have clients that want 6K, and then you use the 8K to be able to crop in and do all that stuff, that's where that comes into play. More or less people asking for 8K or something like that. It's not an ask. It just is, I think at this point, more of a flex. But if you have certain production work for those professionals, then that makes sense like that. Or if you have 4K, whatever, you just want massive options, that's when you go higher. No different than with 4K, 1080p type stuff. So 4K 120, video in 10-bit, pre-capture, which was fun. But honestly, Panasonic's been doing that for years. Had pre-capture. Panasonic has so many features. This is not about Panasonic, but I'm just saying. So pre-capture, speed boost button, 9.44 million dot EVF, 5 gigahertz Wi-Fi. I always love that these cameras had Ethernet. That always is just like the day my ZVE1 Mark II comes out and has, or the ZVE2 or whatever, has an Ethernet port. I'm losing my mind at that point. Like I'm like not losing my mind, but I'm gushing because it's amazing. But AI tracking, 30 frames per second, whatever, shooting, all hashtag, all the things. Z batteries, all the ports you can imagine. And this is the thing, it's a good upgrade, but is it like, I don't see a whole bunch here personally that, and I could be overlooking things, I could be wrong, which I always hope in these cases that I am. But I don't see anything to where it's monumental greatness. And then it comes down to like, hey, I wish my camera, like, when are these features going to come down the line type stuff? Because I was literally thinking about this yesterday, Mother Oats bringing up the A1 Mark II. I feel like I don't know if I'm going to find something that better serves me than the ZVE1. I just don't think so, because it already does all the stuff. Like, there's not a whole lot, you know what I mean? I think we're looking for that wow factor of like when the A7S III dropped, when even the A7 III dropped compared to where it was in the market and stuff like that. We're looking for these big wow factors, these big pops. And it's kind of hard to hit at this point. I don't know if it's like not, I wouldn't even say that it's not being just given to the camera, because I don't know. It's like kind of like, what else is there? I think what else is there though, if I'm picking and adding stuff to the camera to make it better, we need to modernize cameras. Cameras are still separated from modern day technology. Like, think of all the stuff that's happened for smartphones over the last couple of years. Cameras are far behind that in like, why can't I just post directly to Instagram or something like that? Or why can't I record stories with my camera and upload it directly? Since it can do and connect to the internet or what have you, why can't I just post? Like, some of that technology for a smartphone that is this thin. Most of us don't have overheating issues unless it's a hot day, your camera sitting on the dash, is in the heat, whatever kind of a stuff. Like, it truly is overheating because it's like severely hot type stuff. But you know what I mean? Like, it's this thin. A lot of technology in this thin, but it's this thin. And so we looking like, when am I going to be able to do that kind of stuff? That's what I want to see. I would love to see stuff like AI pre-cuts, where you can get the raw version of the video file, because we have AI chips now. Fantastic. Why can't we do like AI pre-cuts? So it's like, we already did the motion tracking for you because we have the gyro data. We have all of the pre-detection type autofocus stuff. It's like, so here's the cut. Then maybe they partner with a company like Opus Clip or Submagic or whatever, and it's like you can send your file directly there. Or stuff like I said, with what I saw Lumix do, that would be cool. Those are the kind of things, like, we need to bring it up to speed with some of that. Internal storage is another one that's just like basic. I think 64 gigabytes, 128 gigabytes, whatever that may be, would be nice. What is up, Beating with Nicole B? Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Let me smidge on over here. But that's the kind of stuff I would love to see in a camera if it was coming out. But I mean, like, it's great. But this kind of stuff for me, honestly, unless it's something to where, like I said, if I saw features and stuff that there is no way that I would think that we were getting in a camera down the line or whatever, then it's like, when is that coming? Man, it's like, it's a little bit of thirst trap there. But I'm not seeing that personally. And it's not that it's just not the right market. This isn't the camera for you, or it's not. No. When you see the flagships, which is this Sony A1 II is, when you see flagships, it's like, I want this to be the Bee's Knees Hall of Fame and make me like, oh man, what camera is going to come out in maybe that $1,800 to $2,500, $2,600, maybe even $3,000 price range that will have even a fraction of these things. Like, how is that going to trickle down the line? At this point, we're spoiled for options. And I think that's kind of why the A1 II is kind of disappointing for a lot of folks. But I mean, like, it's cool. But at this point, it's like, meh. I'm so happy with my ZVE1. It's like, meh. I don't know if there will be a camera that better suits it unless they just make another updated version and then fix this stuff. But it's like, you know what I mean? I'm like, well, I don't know. It would have been nice just to have IBIS in the ZV-10 Mark II. I don't know. Like, that's kind of stuff. I'm like, let's make the regular stuff better, because this is 8K something. And it's like, it's flagship worthy, amazing, Bee's Knees Hall of Fame. Congratulations. But at the same time, for everyone else that's in that creator, I'm gonna buy a camera for that kind of a lineup stuff. I'm not seeing anything that's not already in the lineup. Honestly, It was stuff in the ZVE1 that got moved up to this camera that is now, benefiting from. So we'll see how this develops. Like I said, if I was going to modernize cameras to make this like oozing and dripping and like a mouth watering type of offering, more or less, I would have been trying to bridge that gap better between smartphone technology, content creation, and what the camera tech can do, because the camera is still so separated from what your phone can do. If we can get that tech somewhere or a portion of it, why can't I have precuts in my camera to a point? Why can't we take that gyro data already connected into it comes with the file maybe, so it says metadata, and then it's like the precuts are done for you. Just hit enable maybe on the computer, but we already analyzed the data in the camera because we have the data, and then we can ship it off to Final Cut Pro, DaVinci, CapCut even, and then you hit the generate, and then it does all the stuff like AutoCut, which is the podcast editing software. That's the kind of stuff I would love to see, but at this point it's just like it wasn't even worth talking about, because it's not anything more exciting than what we already have that can hit the mark. You know what I mean? Being with Kobe, I think I already said this, but good to see you. Glad that you're here. Brittany Fiago, good to see. Figaro? Think that's right? Let me know if that's the right way. Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Happy Friday. Mother Old saying the Z8 can do 8K 60 RAW, but the A12 can't. That's crazy. I don't think that RAW is not. I don't think it's like an impossibility here. It may not launch with it. My question at this point is, I think a lot of times the tech comes with more than what it can do on launch day. They're just not even announcing it or whatever, because it'd be better to surprise you with it and say, hey, we have a fantastic update to your camera. I think it's the tech is in there, but it's just not released yet per launch day. You know what I mean? So I think that's kind of one of the things with this one. But RAW would have been nice. AK30 versus AK60. Again, nobody's begging for that. Not that I see or hear online anywhere. Like I said, it's more so if somebody needs to really have a much higher resolution going down to 6K and 4K or whatever. So at this point, it's I think it's a software game. I think we're out of the day of waiting for hardware type features to be in the cameras. I think at this point, if you buy a new camera, it's because of whatever firmware updates are going to come on the back end of stuff. I think that's more or less the game that's going to have to be played here. Because can you turn that kind of stuff on? I think to a point, yes. And it probably has the tech already in there. My question is, what firmware games are we looking at? I think that's more or less it. Because the days of buying or having to buy a new camera every year because you actually do need the new tech in the camera, I think we're kind of phasing out of that phase, and we're definitely well into the firmware game. So that's what I think anyway. So we'll see how it goes as far as that is concerned. But let me go back here, checking out some deals to see what was what for the. I gotta be honest with y'all. This is why I didn't do a stream last year for Black Friday. I'm gonna do one this year, but honestly, the deals ain't dealing like they used to. It just like the prices are the same. It's more or less, it's an accessories game this year, similar to how it was last year. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I got this gimbal. Actually, I probably should do more footage or coverage on that one, but that's a good gimbal. Yeah, this is an accessories game this year. Let's see. This is the A7 III. A7 III 12. Yeah, 1300 Hundo P. So again, like my thing is, if you're looking at deals, add it to cart. Great. But also let's compare with what else is out there. So for me, this one's saying $12.98. This is brand new. Obviously, just the camera, nothing else. This is still a good base model camera if you're not worried about a 30-minute recording limit. I would not recommend spending $1,300 with these limitations, but I'm just going through the limitations here, because when you start going older in cameras, you need to look at what are the limitations potentially with this particular camera model. So for me, 30-minute recording limit, again, is one of those now non-negotiables, because it doesn't have to be a limit, but this is an older camera, so this is back during that daytime. This one also doesn't meet one of my other requirements, which is it having a flippy screen. So this one does not. This is the base model A7 III from back in the day. Not A7. It's not an A7S. It's just the A7 III. No, I keep typing the same thing. So $12.98. Again, $12.98. So there's no deal. This is what I'm saying. Like, where are the 1992, 94, 96 Black Friday deals? That's what I want to see. Let's do a way back Black Friday sales, stores, retailers. Give me the 1996, back when parents was punching parents in the store trying to get a Tickle Me Elmo toy. Take me back to those days, because this is not it. All right, let's look at the specs real quick for the A7 III. Not bad, 24 megapixels, 4K 30, S-Log 3, no 10-bit, obviously, in this 2.36, not anything to write home about. USB-C port, yes, Wi-Fi, all the things, IBIS, full frame. But again, it does not have a flippy screen. So this is a camera where if you're behind the camera, this is fine. But at $1,300, I think at this point, this is where we start phasing out of this stuff. My last check is I'm going to be checking mpb.com, see what they got for an A7 III. So they're completely out. So this is, I'm going to give you one of my best pro tips. My best pro tip when you are shopping online and you're looking for the best deals. You need to get up early. You need to get up early. You need to get up early. Because you want to hit, this is how, and I just uncovered this on my own, you need to get in at the top of the list, not the bottom of the list, when stuff first comes online. So like I just checked real quick for an A7 III, like just the price compare. There's none available. What happens is, usually with any of these stores, B&H is like that, MPB is like that, Adorama probably is like that. I just don't shop there enough to know the difference one way or the other. What you do is when you're looking to buy something and you're looking for maybe the best deal, especially if it's something that's gently used, it's refurbished, new is not like that. It's usually available. But if you're looking for like the best deals, gently used type something, reason why I say you need to get up early is so that you can check for the fresh listing. So what happens is new camera gear comes in throughout the week, whatever the day is. And every morning, those listings that got added the night before go live in the morning. So when you get up in the morning early, this could be, I'm thinking like 5 a.m. Central Standard Time, 6 a.m. Central Standard Time type stuff. Convert that to your own time zones. Somewhere in that ballpark time frame is when those listings go live. So now let's say you were just like, whatever camera is like your favorite. So for me, this is how I found my Sony ZV-E1 when it first came out. Probably like 31 days after it came out, because think of buyer psychology. Somebody's just past 30 days, they cannot return the camera. So what do they have to do? They have to sell it. Where are they going to sell it? Someplace that they're going to get the most money for. It's not usually Adorama. It's not B&H. It's going to be between mpb.com and keh.com, which is another store that I like too. I actually got to go there in person when I was selling my A6600. So they're a cool shop, nice people. So that's another one that I would recommend that I didn't pull up today. But so MPB, KEH is usually going to give you the best. Those two stores are usually going to give you the best money for a sale on a camera gear or something like that. And be fair about the pricing. Unfortunately, I've not found that to be true with B&H. They're not going to give you the best deal. So you may find a good deal occasionally, but it's like you take it or leave it. You get up in the morning, you check the listing, so that you can refresh and see what new stuff comes available. Because I had one camera in my cart at MPB. Got up that morning and said, let me just wait and see. And up pops up the white chocolate, the Bee's Knees Hall of Fame camera that I have right now, ZV-E1, for way cheaper. And I was like, there's nothing wrong with this camera. It just literally passed the 31-day mark. Somebody sells it. I said, hey, can I swap out that camera for this other camera? And they were like, yep, sure, no problem. And so I had a credit, so I got a lens and I think an SD card or something like that. And that's always how I get, if I'm going to buy a used camera, I'm not going to buy in the later part of the day. I'm probably going to buy in the morning because whatever deals are going to be posted in the morning. That's my best tip when it comes to buying used, and you need to buy gently used. You want like the best quality for the best price. Those listings pop up in the morning, not in the afternoon, not in the evening, in the morning when those stuff that got filed in last night is shipped, pictures are done, labels, all hashtag, all the stuff. It goes live in the morning. So I learned that back when I was working at a job, because my job made me get up early in the morning, and Bees Knees Hall of Fame purchases have been mine ever since. So that's how you do. That's how you do that. Ravens talking with Yolanda in the building. Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Saying happy Friday. Glad gang. Good to see you. K-Walk Comedy Principal Walker in the building. Saying I have an Intel Mac and I need to unload. I wanted to try Facebook Marketplace. That can be good. I like to do for in-person stuff. I learned this out just by happenstance. So if you go to like your local police department, provided you have no warrant or nothing, Principal Walker. No, but if you go to your local police department, you can call ahead just to make sure. But in their lobby, because they have outlets, they usually may have a desk or a seating area or something like that. They will allow you to do your purchases, Facebook Marketplace purchases there. So that way it's safe. If you do have an electronic, you can hook up a monitor and your mouse and stuff and be able to test it. I saw these guys come in there I was there for something else. No, I wasn't in trouble. But I'm sitting there and I'm waiting in the lobby to get this report back. And I saw these guys come in there and they're hooking up an Xbox. I'm like, what are y'all doing? And they were like, I'm finna buy this Xbox, but I want to see if, the games work and if everything's cool. And I was like, y'all finna do that in the police department? They was like, yeah. They was like, we called ahead. We do this all the time. Alrighty then. So if you need to test equipment like a computer or something like that, there's no way for you to know unless you have a monitor, mouse, keyboard, or whatever. But you can do that at a local police department. I'm pretty sure probably like the fire department may be up for that as well. I've never heard of it, but they are usually pretty cool about it. So that's something to consider. So if you need to test your computer, like if you're buying one, if you're selling one, and you just want to feel safe, that's also another alternative as well, even just for a quick exchange if they don't want to test it. So that's always cool. Prices tend to move up late July and May, drop off for Black Friday, and not always the hot items. 100% correct. So I usually do a sale tracker. I also like Honey, which is a Chrome app extension. I'm pretty sure it's probably available through other or browser extensions. So I'll price check stuff throughout the year, especially if it's something that I want, or if it's just something that I want to see what's available. And you're 100% right, because most of the time you can find the same stuff that's listed. It just has a tag for Black Friday, like we just saw for some of the bigger purchases. I'm gonna look at some microphones here in a minute, but you can find that stuff for the same price any other point throughout the year, and sometimes better for certain things. So even Cyber Monday is just a different label, same price more or less. Like I said, I want to see the 1996, 1994, 1995 type Black Friday, so 80% off the real price, right? Tickle Me Elmo level aggression in the store because the prices are so good. Like, don't hurt anybody, but obviously, like, you know what I mean? Like, make it worth it versus the fake sale prices, I guess, more or less is the honest way to approach that. Accessories, though, I do find to be a bit more honest with their approach. So let's see, when it comes to some of my favorite microphones, what that stuff looks like for deals, because I'm always typing Sony. That is locked in my head for some reason. Let's try my first microphone, ATR 2100. They have the 2100X now. So if you're doing any kind of if you have any content goals, so if you look ahead for your content goals and stuff, what are you going to be doing? What are you actually going to be creating? That's some of the stuff that's worth getting. These are not on sale yet. It's not that they may not be, but they could be. And these two right here are some of my absolute favorite. The Audio-Technica, I had the original, so it wasn't a USB-C. And then the Samson Q2U, which I still have. Actually, I don't have the ATR 2100. My cousin stole it. So you know who you are. And she's like, let me borrow it. That borrow has not been returned. Okay. It's been a couple years now. But $50, $69. If you're getting something added to the cart, it's kind of one of those things. It's like, go ahead and add it. But these are by far one of my favorite. I like the Samsung Q2U personally. I liked it more because it was not as, I don't know the proper terminology, but it was, the ATR 2100 was like super quiet. Whereas the Samsung Q2U, and I compared it in like a short, just like a quick synopsis. People could not tell the difference between the Q2U and this microphone. Granted, you can make this legendary microphone sound as amazing as you want to. It has range, but this one sounds fantastic out of the box. Nobody ever complained when I used that microphone. And you see, I've had it since 2019. So this is a bee's knees one. They just haven't updated it at all to be USB-C. So it's that older type of USB, more or less thingy-mabob, but it's okay. It's not bad. It's not good. Well, it's not, what am I saying? It's not bad, but it's not good that they haven't updated that, because that could solve one of the biggest things with this one, which was sometimes you pick up a little interference from that cable. But like you can see, it's that older USB port, which I didn't think was great because you don't have anything else should you lose a cable. So if you get something like this, just get a updated one. But if you go over here, because this one is more or less the same internals, this is better. The stand sucks. You can break this stand super duper easy, no matter how gentle you're trying to be. But at least this one is USB-C and it's XLR. So these are great microphones to pick up. These are two that I always watch. The Q2U does go on sale quite a bit, surprisingly, but it's like, meh. Flav Media in the building. Good to see you. Glad that you're here. Saying your channel is doing very good. Keep uploading. We appreciate it. You're very welcome. Glad to be of service. I actually need to get back to regular recorded content. I've been doing streams for a minute, so I need to get back to some recorded content, which today might be that day. All right, so I'm looking. Let's go back to the homepage real quick because I just want to see what they pop up. SD cards. Let's take a look, see. So if I'm getting an SD card, just to have SanDisk Extreme or Extreme Pros every single time, I'm never probably not going to buy one. It's like, these are just good to have. These are more or less, excuse me, may not be the biggest price difference, but if you could save a few bucks, it's worth picking up. I wish they made an equivalent to like the Sony Tough cards, where they did take the little safety thing off of there. It doesn't break off that often, but that's just a point of possible whatever. I have a bajillion of these things. These are some of the best, cheap, truly good SD cards that you can get. The SanDisk Extreme or the SanDisk Extreme Pro. You do want to make sure that even if you're doing 10-bit or whatever, you can still do it on these cards. You can do the 4K, 24p, 10-bit, H.265 stuff. That's the higher quality recording on your cameras. If you have a newer camera that can do that stuff, these cards can do it. SanDisk Extreme and a SanDisk Extreme Pro. The difference is just slightly with the specs or whatever. And it honestly doesn't matter which one you get, but you do, in my opinion, you want to go at least 128 gigabytes or higher. 64 gigabytes is just not enough data, and it's not worth it. I had somebody ask recently on the channel, should they just get like one of these 1 terabyte cards? Absolutely hell no, never. Absolutely hell no, never. And it's not a price thing. It's more or less the data. Again, it's not a Sony Tough card where the lock is removed. So what happens is, most people think I'm only going to need one SD card. I promise you, you don't want to have all of your footage saved on one SD card, and that's it. I promise you don't want to do that, because, just hear me out, issues happen. Cards can break. I have one sitting on my desk right now that broke where it's separated where the gold teeth are. And unfortunately, it's not like, oh, the car is just getting used too much, it's getting abused, you didn't take care of it. I promise you, I'm so gentle with my stuff. But at the same time, accidents happen. But I promise you, you don't want all of your footage on one card. Should something go corrupt, mess up or whatever, and then you can't get your footage because the lock broke, which does happen more than you think. If it breaks off, you just hope that it breaks off in the right direction where it's unlocked and not locked, because then you can't record any more footage to that. That's what happens there. If the gold teeth part of it, I don't have that. Actually, I don't have that card on my desk right now. But if the gold teeth part come off, what happens is it's separated. It's just a little bit of thin plastic that separates the difference here. It just is not worth playing. But 1 terabyte, no. It's better to space out your stuff. And then logically, when you're creating content, the other thing that makes you want to get more than one SD card is the fact that if you're recording A-roll, B-roll, whatever you're editing, fine. Say you batch record. You're editing that stuff. You have your SD card in the SD card reader in your computer, whatever. If you've batch recorded 2, 3, 4 videos, unless you sit and crank all of those out that same day, it's going to take you a minute. What happens when now you're back to a new recording day? You haven't edited all the stuff. You don't want to just now crank and add on even more stuff to it, especially if you're in the middle of an edit, whatever. It just honestly frees you up to leave that SD card there or the footage there and have another one there. The other benefit is when you're recording B-roll, let's say you forgot to get a shot of something, or it's like, oh, I could get B-roll of me typing at my desk. I could get B-roll of me doing X, Y, Z, whatever. The little annoyance over time of having to take the SD card out, put it in the camera, re-record the thing, and then put it back, when you could just grab another SD card, keep doing what you're doing, let that file render whatever is happening, and then go grab the second SD card, record what you need and stuff like that. It's way more efficient. So the SanDisk Extreme and Extreme Pro cards absolutely get my recommendation, but not the 1 terabyte. It just isn't worth it. But you do want to at least get 128 gigabytes, at least. Business Growth Ready said Lexar professional SD cards are also good. I will not disagree with your experience. I just have a hesitation around recommending Lexar. I'm glad you have a great experience with them, but there's so many of us creators that have not. And so for that reason, I couldn't put my stamp of approval behind that. But if you've had great experience with it, great. I can't, yeah, we ain't gonna test that one. I ain't gonna test that one. Ooh, this brought up a great thought. So a lot of SD cards that you're gonna see, let's just go to the Zon. If we look, this is something to be careful of. And like, I really mean this. Do not look for, you'll see, all I did was type in SD cards. You'll see like, oh, Amazon Basics have one. That's great. It has 94,000 whatever stuff. These are also probably purchasers. And they say, oh, it's got a V30. I've used it. It's like, it has a class 10. It has all the flagship things. Those are cards where it's like, to a point, they may be fine. But do you truly want to trust your business footage, the content that you plan to make money off of or whatever, by saving $5, by saving $10? You're probably going to spend more than that in DoorDash fees, in Uber Eats fees. Please don't. Please don't. The other thing is Random Brand, never heard of. Inland is not one of those companies, actually. But just a brand that you never heard of. It's like, oh, it's got so many ratings, people, whatever. I promise you, it's not worth it. It's like, but I can get 5 of these. I promise you, it's not worth it. I just promise you, it's not. It's not being a snob or like a gear fanatic or none of those things. I just promise you, it's not worth it. The amount of times I've had people send me a message on Instagram, or we started a thread on the YouTube comments on a video. I can't get my footage. I'm getting this green thing, or it looks like the static channel on the way TVs used to look back in the day or whatever. It's like, can you help me? I'm like, send me a message on Instagram, send me a picture, show me what you're seeing. And they're like, is there any way to fix this? Is there anything you can do? I'll pay for a coaching session. I'm like, you don't even have to do that. Unless you have a recovery software or something that may be able to help with that, it's a wash. Whatever that footage was, if it was a one-time deal, it's lost. Unless you can hire something that's going to be way more than the cost of this card was that can do it. And then you hope that it can. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, I promise you, you do a recording, the take is great, the audio's finally right. That was the best video you ever made. Corrupt card. Breaks. Something else is wrong. Camera can't read it. It just like, it's not worth it. I promise you, please. For all the things that is good and holy, don't buy random brand cheap cards. These, it's like, oh, it's got 500. Please don't. Please don't. Just please don't. Like, you spent so much and you invested so much already. Please don't. Okay? Please. You have been helped. Welcome to the Helpcast. You have been helped. I've oh my gosh, the amount of times that people have had those issues, and I'm like, please stop. Don't do it to yourself. It ain't worth it. Saying Amazon ran out of the 2-pack Viltrox light kit that you recommended, but the 3-pack is on sale. So let's go here, Dinah. Link. There it is. /lights. So the light kit that you're referring to, or those that weren't here before from Beating with Nicole B, the Viltrox VL200, those do tend to go on sale. So, okay, they must have switched the listing to 3 lights. Here's how you could, because it's not that much more expensive. I think maybe the cheapest I remember them going for around the Black Friday was like $117, $119, $121, something like that. And it's like sometimes you can find like a lightning deal where it may be even cheaper. And that's what I'm hoping some of these pop off with, a lightning deal. It's not bad RGB, but it's only, is that a, yes, a single light. Okay. So if you're going with this is the light kit that I've been using for eons, but this is a 3-pack instead of the 2. What you can do with that third light, these lights are not RGB lights, but if you notice, little pink light back there that you see, that is not an RGB light. That is a regular LED light that I have, and I learned this trick from one of the filmmakers on YouTube. In music videos, they use gels when they need to get, maybe it's a certain texture with an RGB light, or they just want to turn a regular light into a certain color. And so they use these gels that you get from like a craft store. So that's what I did, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to buy RGB lights. Fast forward all these years, I've never bought that RGB light because the gel worked fine. And I think that gel was maybe $2 for an entire roll, which I still have never used across multiple lights even. So you can get that. You can do like a gel type thing. You can use it as a hair light. If you have a green screen, or that's something that you want to do, like we was talking about before on last week's stream, you can do that where you light the background. That's when you can now start to get more creative. And then I can't even say if one breaks or if something happens. The only thing that you may have an issue with is the light stand after some years. And it's like, and that's one of the notches. It's like if it slides a little, and that's universal across all those type cheap stands for light stands. Otherwise, it's like nothing's been an issue with this entire kit. The bag is dope. I use that for any cables, tripods, and light stands when I would travel, and extension cables and stuff like that. And it's not big enough to where they make you have to file it as a tripod bag when you're flying. And so it's just seen as a regular case, even though the items in it is whatever it is. But I like this kit so much. It's done so well for me. I have no complaints. I have no complaints about this one. So it's a way you can get around that. Saying I made my own 512 gigabyte CF Express B card using a tiny NVMe SSD and an adapter enclosure on Amazon. It's been great for my use case. Yeah, I've heard of that too, where it's like, and I've considered it. It's one thing though. One thing that I think is when you do something like this versus like for me, I've considered it, but I probably never would. Because it is handy when you do know little tricks of the trade, or you learn a new skill and you can do something like that, which is not super hard of like, it's not like engineer type level to stuff like it feels like it sometimes, but it's not with this. But at least when I looked into it, you feel free to correct me if I'm wrong though. What I've noticed for me, I don't like troubleshooting something. I like customer support, to where if the thing doesn't work, they send me a new unit. Or if the thing doesn't work, I can send it in, it gets fixed and it comes back. Or, you know, something like that. I'm just a support person, to where if the thing does not work, can I return it in exchange for one that does work or whatever? I don't want to finick and play with stuff. Personally, that's just me. But if that is your jam, you have so many more options available to you because you can truly create that kind of stuff. So I admire when you can do those kind of things. It's just not my cup of tea because I'm like, if it don't work, I don't want to play with it. I just want something that does. And I don't want to figure out why or what I did or did I solder this? No, thank you. I was like, I need support and a chat support. And it's like, hey, serial number such is not working well. Can I get it? Then be like, oh yeah, we'll send you a new unit, whatever. It's like, okay, cool. Shoot. Saying that light kit has a savings of over $40. Honestly, like I said, the only time I probably wouldn't recommend like an LED panel style thing is when you need your lights to go far. And usually at that point, you're looking at that chip on board or like those cob lights, which I wonder if Viltrox has any. I know they have a version that used to be out, but actually that I have, but not my cup of tea. Wouldn't recommend it. LED. Wonder if they have those cob lights. No, maybe not. But there's some other companies out there as well. Oh, I still need to give that lens away. We should probably do that. Like, oops. Yeah, it's like it mostly got like LED light type stuff. But let's just look real quick. Chip on board, and these are great if you have a bigger space. You need it to stretch far. All right, let's just do cob video light. Okay, so Neewer has some. These are these type devices that you usually see. This is when those are great. The other thing with that too that you have to consider is the noise. So if you're using a shotgun style microphone, and I say the noise because they have vents on them because they have a fan in there. The one I liked about the one that I do have is that you can control the fan setting and decide if it's going to be loud or you want it softer based on how fast that fan is spinning. But like right now I have my space heater on because I don't like to be cold, and you can't hear it because I'm using crisp. But what if I wasn't using crisp because I'm not attached to the desk, a shotgun style microphone? Now you're turning a bunch of stuff off. So these kind of lights, this is why as a standard light, I don't want these. I don't need this space. I don't need these lights to throw light that far. LEDs plenty fine. Home office, home studio, living room, small space, corner, whatever. When you're doing LED, those are fantastic for that. You need that light to stretch way farther. That's when these kind of lights start to be better, or like you just have a unique scenario, or maybe you just want one. That's another use case for these kind of lights, these chip on board or cob type things. You see that COB bicolor. That's where you're looking at. Small Rig had one, and there was another brand that had one. I can't think of who it is. Zion. Yeah, these are these other ones that I really like. I have not tried these, but these are ones that are interesting to me because it's kind of a little bit of best of both worlds. Small like an LED light panel, but also doesn't have a ton of, like, it don't take up a ton of space like some of these other ones can. So this is cool. It just depends on the what's what. So then I tried to order the 2-pack. It says it was out of stock, so I saw the 3-pack. Yep, you'll be fine with the 3-pack. More or less, it's like that third light. You can either use it to light up the space or just keep it as a spare. Like I said, turn it into an RGB style type of light by using some kind of gel colored or something like that. Do you have any feedback on the Hollyland Lark M1 mic kick? Personally, nope. Because I haven't tried it. See the M1? You know why? Because I've freaking been stuck with DJI and too happy. I think I had an opportunity to try these and I just declined it. But I've seen, it's not these specific ones, it's another one that comes to mind. That the thing with this is, does it meet your requirements? I always have a list of non-negotiables for my audio. Can I rely on it? First and foremost, is it introducing any kind of audio interference, whether you hook up a lapel mic or use it directly? If the answer is no, then great, because that's one of the main things that I'm looking for, which surprisingly is a problem with sometimes these cheaper kits, but Hollyland is not like a random brand company. So let's take a look at this kit for 79 bucks. It's not bad. I've seen a lot of people use them, actually. I'm trying to think of what the name of that other one is. Because it's not this. It's another one. It's like a little circle joint that honestly a lot of people are enjoying. You can get, honestly, most of these more or less across the board, you're gonna have the same experience. As long as you can have the opportunity to hook in a lapel mic, great. Which it connects into the camera, great. That's the only thing, is just give yourself options instead of like it only being smartphone only, or it only being, and like I said, if I recall correctly, it's not the case with these. These all are more or less the same thing. Like I said, the only thing is that I just got really happy with DJI and very pleased, and I did not try anything past that point personally. Just make sure on the mic, if you want to, so that you have options down the road, it has like a lapel kit. I'm trying to think what that other one's called. Might be able to find it on my phone real quick. Let's just type in wireless mic and see what comes up. So again, like most of these aren't bad. Here it is. This is the Highline. It was the M2. Okay. So these I'm finding for a lot of, like, these are dope. I'm not going to hold you. These are dope. If we just go to the camera TRS version, then that one is $100. Like, these are, to me, these are, like, if you're going to get a kit, you want to go budget friendly. If the other ones don't have a 3.5 millimeter port in there so that you have the option to do lapels, why would you want to do a lapel versus just clip it on, which is easy? Because sometimes in certain environments, again, think future, not just like what you're doing right now. We have a whole nother year of content ahead of us for 2025 and then some. If we think about in the next year, in the next 12 months, what kind of stuff are you making in the next 12, 14, 16 months? What kind of stuff are you making? Because audio kits is not something you need to replace. This is something that you have, and then unless you just want something else or they make something new, then you get it. Like the only reason I switched from the DJI Mic 1 to the Mic 2 is because it had the Sony adapter that I don't need to use cables anymore. That severely lowers the noise floor. So this is a kit. It's worth the stretch. From $79 to $100. This is like I said, this is the one I was thinking of. I would get this. I would not get the smartphone only versions because that's not all that you're going to do. And even if you only use a smartphone for video, again, my question and my thought process around that is, let's say you go to an event, whatever your convention is, like Beading with Nicole B. Let's say it's a beads convention. It's a craft convention. Whatever it is, somebody has a camera and you're getting ready to do a quick podcast type thing or whatever, and it was like, oh, do you want to hook in so you can get the audio from our board or whatever? We can still use the mics or whatever. Do you want to like my audio guy can do that for you? And I'm like, oh, this is smartphone only. So you know, it's like it's little stuff like that always happens. That it's not until you're in those spaces that makes you think differently. And I've been in those scenarios, environments just like that. I bought for what I needed for right now, not for any future goals or possibilities. So I just like to cover the bases and have a high enough ceiling so that should you think about whatever you want, or honestly, the combo kit, get it all for an additional $11, it's worth it. Because if we look at the difference between $79 and $111, that's a DoorDash purchase. That's an Uber Eats purchase. Like that money's going to get blown somewhere in the next 12 months. Make the jump up, and it just makes sense. So the ones are probably fine. But in this case, like I said, you think about the tech, your audio is not something that you want to consider messing up. This is more or less the route that I would go, honestly. It's not that the other ones are bad or whatever. It's just like, okay, for a little bit more, for the cost of probably a DoorDash order, an Uber Eats order, or whatever. Money I know I'm gonna waste at the gas station on candy or chips, or you know what I mean? Just like being honest, you're gonna spend that money someplace else somewhere. Let it be into the thing that may bring you back more money if that's what you're doing with your content. So, but these are the ones that I had in mind that I was thinking about. These audios, they sound great out of the box. And like I said, you have the options to do either or. So these are cool. In my opinion, these are cool. Mother Ope saying cheap CF Express B cards aren't good. I tried them in my Z8 and it wouldn't work. Again, key point there, cheap CF Express B type cards. You think of how much, let's just real quick, price check. I was about to say Sony, Nikon, Z8. So if you look at the Z8, I don't know if you have the Mark 1 or the Mark 2, but we look at this, it's 3,500. And I get, this is a nice grip of cash. So I don't know if I don't even know if they have a Mark 2. I don't think so. Do they? Z8 Mark 2? I don't think so. Yeah, I didn't think so. All right, so we just look at a base Z8. I don't think there is. Memory serves. I'm thinking like the Z6, Z7. $3,500. I'm not putting cheap media in the card, period. And I'm saying cheap as in like it's literally not going to hit. And I get when you drop this much of an investment on a camera and it's like, dag, a lot of the income towards whatever you're making money from, it's like a lot of that investment went straight into this. So what's left for all the other stuff? It's not worth it buying anything cheap to put in there because again, what's the payoff? There is none. It's like whatever savings you think you are, you just usually are buying a problem somewhere down the road or one right out the gate. So like I said, cheap CF Express, no, it's not worth it. You're going to have to still invest a little bit more, which is the equivalent of what goes with that camera, and get something that actually can do what you need to do. Or like you say, you made something, that's fine. But again, it's like when you look at the investment can't solely just be the camera. It has to be that audio, lighting, the accessories, some of the software of whatever is required, the full package of the stuff that you need to make that investment truly meet the demands of what you're trying to do. So like I said, that's the key word in what you said, they're cheap. And you don't want to do nothing cheap at that point. So I saw some reviews on YouTube, but I have to ask you. I appreciate that. For me, like I said, I took the, I don't even know how much the DJI 2s run right now. If I had to go, yeah, 350. For me, like I said, it's only because like I have a Sony camera. I have the DJI adapter. I already had the ones. So that trust is already built, which honestly was a lot coming from Rode. But until Rode was messing up, then the Rode Mic 2s were messing up, and I had two different brand new units bought at 2 different time frames, and I still had ran into the same issues. And I'm like, I don't want to play this game anymore. And I personally hated the connecting to my phone to make settings change, and then I don't want to play that game. So I went with the Mic 2s because it's a software game. Again, it's just a software game moving forward. So now we have where it can connect to the Osmo Pocket 3 and stuff like that or whatever. So that's again, what now? What's the possibility? What's the ceiling or whatever? So Mic 2s are $350. Let's go back real quick to past the Z8. And we should get back to the Hollyland Lark. Yeah. So now $111. As I said, it's not a bad buy. Get you a good lapel mic. I personally do like the Rode lapel mics because they're small, which means they're inconspicuous. Because those ones with the bigger bulbs, it just like, here's my chapstick cap. Let's go full screen for this. Because this is something else that is little tweaks and stuff like that you make as you're creating that you find what works best for you. And check this out. You making content and you have something that's this big attached to your shirt. Granted, it may not be white, but it's this big clipped on for a lapel. That to me felt ridiculous in my opinion. So I'm like, I don't want these big old lapel mic things that were huge. So what I invested in was I don't even have something that's as small as it other than to just grab it. I'm not gonna do it. It's not that important. I'm trying to hold myself together. But whereas you have something that's now as small as a pen tip, it feels like that now is connected to my shirt, it's not that big of a deal. Or if you have it underneath it, it doesn't feel like a finger is underneath your shirt type thing. And again, it's just little aesthetics, stuff like that, that for me, I prefer the small capsule, and they sound great, super durable. And just, again, it's durable. I've had the same audio gear for the most part, minus the DJI Mic 2 upgrades, for years. Haven't had to upgrade. And so honestly, when it comes to that kind of stuff, that's the stuff that you want to buy. So like I said, when you look at the Hollyland Lark 2s, those look dope. I've heard no bad complaints about people that actually buy them and actually use them. Can't vet them again to say I've tried them for myself, but Hollyland is not a random brand online, something like you see on Amazon per se. This is an actual reputable company. So this is something that's actually worth picking up. So, consider that. Let's see here. So I have the M2. Absolutely love it. Love it. Exotic Wagers. Good to see you. Glad that you are here. Yeah, those are dope. Saying perfect to pair with my ZV-10 Mark II. And you know what? When you're actually traveling, you figure out what gear, or like, and I'm saying traveling, you don't have to go cross country, out of town. Just even if it's a small road trip, a conference, whatever, something in your space that you want to have fun with, you figure out what gear actually is doing more for you outside of the office, outside of stuck behind the desk content. And so little stuff like how much space something takes up. And that's another thing why I switched from the Rode Go-2s to the DJIs. Small case. I can put them back in the case. They charge in a case. I was doing a mastermind training. And so this is like a 5-figure mastermind training that I'm doing. And so I put it on the speaker so that the audio from the handheld mics in the room, which couldn't connect up to the thing, because it was a whole different thing, a whole different setup. And I'm like, okay, I need to capture that audio for myself because I always record my talks. And so now I'm like, okay, I can just use the magnets that comes with it, put it on the speaker. And then, so when I'm talking or we're doing Q&A in the room or whatever, we don't have any issues picking up the audio. And I can start and stop the recording based on a little thing, just a little receiver. And so it's little stuff like that. I would need to go into the app. If I was using my phone, which I was for something else, for Spotify at that point, to Bluetooth to this speaker setup, which is kind of different. And so doing that. And so I'm like, the devices I have are doing their job, doing something else. So now I got to think outside the box. So that is something where I'm like, this is where I'm like, oh yeah, okay. Because I had both of them at the same time, trying them, kept dropping the signal, having issues with the Mic 2s, brand new kit, kept having to, space-wise, even though you get the thing with the 3 USB-C cables to charge them all at the same time, the case is weird. Or it's bigger. If you get the soft one, it's longer. You get the big hard one, it's just kind of like of a weird, odd shape. The DJIs take up no space. You know what I mean? Like, so it's little stuff like that. Like, the more you're creating, the more you're doing something, like now you're hitting content goals, you're doing other stuff that you're getting into more than just your 80% bulk stuff. You figure out what the limitations or minor frustrations are in the gear and equipment. Doesn't make it bad. It's just those micro frustrations start to add up over time. So that made it an easy thing. So when you say a perfect pair for the ZV, I could 100% believe you. Small kit, small setup, don't have to worry about like a lot. Absolutely, I'm taking it every day of the week. All right, so thanks. Yeah, appreciate that, Exotic Way. Just glad that you are here to share in those thoughts. And the M2 is a smaller device, like the size of a quarter. Can't use a lavalier mic with it, but the audio and noise reduction is amazing. So I said I would get the kit that includes the phone and the wireless camera option. Agreed. For me, I gotta have a lapel mic. Because again, it's just some environments where once you hook in that lapel mic, the noise floor goes lower, which means you don't have to necessarily only rely on that. And that's the only thing with those that I personally didn't like. Like you said, is no lapel mic connection, but most people are kind of, I guess that's the time, just the season that we're in. There's no way to connect in a lapel mic. But if you know for a fact that's never something you're going to do, you don't care nothing about that, then the hell with what I'm saying and get with what you need. You know what I mean? So you can take that approach. But these are dope, small, slender. I'm all for that. And like I said, they actually do sound good. And then the battery life and stuff like that, like charging in the case, you can go, I found like 3 days solid of like good use back and forth whenever you need it, throwing it in the case, taking it out of the case or whatever. So if you forget to charge it overnight, it's not that big of a deal because your stuff is still good. It's like, so they did a great job with these. Like I said, I would need something to connect it into the, to my phone, not my phone, but into my camera, just because I'm a lapel person sometimes. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, so we'll have a ton of questions today. So I am not going to be streaming 4, 3, and 4 and such hours. So if we have any final questions, stuff about gear, tech, content creation, gear, whatever the thing is, we went through a few things today. Next week, we're going live on Friday to cover a lot of the Black Friday sales and stuff like that. And a little surprise bonus that I'm doing for my brand as well. A little Black Friday deal extravaganza going on. So more to come on that. But we're actually going to be going through those deals and seeing what some of the best stuff is out there. But I gave a lot of great tips in the beginning of the stream. So if I don't see any questions, which I'm not seeing KY Comedy came in. But if you have questions, now's the time to add them to the chat. The clock is ticking. But we are going to be going through helping you buy, fix your kits, all that stuff next Friday for the Black Friday edition of the stream. So KY Comedy says, I lost the mini magnet to my DJI Mic 2. The replacement is $5, but out of stock. Anyone have a better alternative? Thinking about trolling the Dollar Tree craft section. I can do you one better. So you got to think the older 50-year-old hardware department store guys. Craft store may have some magnets, but it may not be the strength of the magnets like that originally come with the kit. So you got to think those 50-year-old guys that have calluses all over their knuckles, and you know what I'm saying, like been working in the hardware store for about a good 30-something years. Those are the guys you want to go to and tell them that you need, because now if you get something that's more of a construction style hardware, I don't know if that's a local hardware store, if you're looking at a Lowe's or Home Depot type scenario, but just look for the older guy. You'll know him. He got knee braces on. He got a back brace on. Like, you know what I'm saying? He don't even need to look up at the signs or not. He's been working there for years. That's the kind of guy you want to look for. You want to get your hardware construction style magnet because those have greater strength than anything the craft store is going to have. And it's obviously going to be at a better price. So you probably will get a bigger piece. Now, the thing is, you ask them where the magnets and stuff are, but the reason why you go there is because if you have one of the other ones, you can take it in and sketch it, or you can take it in, let them see it, or you can kind of maybe do a sketch. And what they can do is sand it down to the shape that you want. They can cut it and then they can sand it down. Same way that you can do the lumber. But if you think about magnet, people that like to do magnet fishing and stuff like that, the better magnets are going to be at the hardware type stuff, not necessarily the craft store. They'll have something, but this is a thicker sweater, for example. Is it going to easily hold or will it rub off? No, you want something with the same type of strength that the originals have. And then, like I said, if you go to a hardware style store, they'll be able to sand it down and file it down for you. Or if you have something at home that you can do it, they'll tell you what to do, but they probably will do it for you just so you can get the dimensions right and the strength right. Go find that 50-year-old experienced man at the hardware store, and I promise you, he can probably make you 3 or 4 of them out of one little sheet. Shoot. Let's see. And agree with you. If I needed a lav mic, my choice would be the DJI mic Mark II. The recent firmware update also improved the already great sound quality too. I have both of these. Yeah, when I got these mic 2s, I got them when they first came out, and it was nervous because it's like pure nervousness. I had was I speaking at social media marketing world, And I'm like, so it's me talking to Nikki Saunders. And I'm like, she got the Rhodes, and she's like, you gonna try them? You gonna use it? I'm like, yeah, man, the only way to know is to put it to the test for real in a place where it matters. And you gotta think, you got all these cell phone signals everywhere. The other guys, I also have a Rode kit attached to my pack, and my pocket, and like they mic me up and then I mic myself up. And she's like, you gonna trust these? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, I'm gonna have to. Just shoot. Because what else are you gonna do? So only way to put that stuff to the test is to really use it. So, and that's the thing. Now, like I was saying earlier about the Sony A1 Mark II, is really not a hardware game. It's a software and firmware game at this point. The recent models of whatever thing is probably going to have enough tech in it that didn't get used per launch day, but will come on the back end as firmware updates and stuff, which is why I switched from the Mic 1s to the Mark 1s to the Mark 2s. And I honestly left Rode alone when it comes to those, because I hate the smartphone connectivity, having to use my phone in the app to change something simple. They kept defaulting and disconnecting. Like, I kept having so many issues with them. For brand new sets, different places. It's not like the same batch. They were bought like half a year apart. It just was annoying. So I'm done with those, and me and DJI and that Sony adapter. I just hope they make a vlog style microphone like that competes with the Sony ECM style mics. Do it, DJI. Do it. Shoot. Said, I know those guys. Them hardware men, they are the best. Said they've been helping me since I moved into my new home at the local Lowe's. Said I may need stronger. The original fell off during a game duty. Okay, so let them know, because they like take the one in that you have. If you lost one but you still have the other one, take it in, and then they can say, oh, that's about a whatever. I don't even know how you measure magnetism. But there's like, oh, you need something that's a such and such. Talk to the men at the hardware. They know. Knee brace, back brace. They're the best people in the business. Like for real. You say I may need stronger than the original. Yeah, go for it. Brother Miggs. Oh, Brother Miggs. It has been a month of Sundays and a month of another Sundays. And then some. I hope you and your wife are having a fantastic day. I hope y'all are doing well. Brother Miggs, I ain't seen you in a long time. Good to see you. And shoot. Said I have to check out the DJI mics. I heard a lot of creators moving towards them. I've rented them and they work well, and I like their sound quality. I gotta say, creative flexibility is probably the number one reason why I'd stick with DJI now. And from the ones to the twos, because I didn't want to switch to the twos personally, because I'm like, what are they going to offer that I don't already have? And I'm like, okay, noise reduction, that will get better over time. That is a firmware upgradable type thing. And I'm like, they came out. I saw the leak of the Sony wireless adapter, and I'm like, the fact that it is not going to be cabled, that I don't care about that. The noise floor being quieter, that I do care about. And I'm like, ooh, you combine those. I'm like, man, I won't need Crisp, or it's basically like having Crisp AI on the go. And I'm like, I can rock with that. I have loved it. Absolutely freaking loved it. Let's see. Have I had any issues with these mic 2s? No, I haven't had any issues. No drops, no nothing. I've not had where it messed up the audio. In big environments like a conference center or space, I've not had it where it was interference or it had dropouts. I've not lost a recording file or nothing like that. Even like, again, using the magnet, connecting it to a speaker so I can record my talk that I'm doing, if I'm doing a mastermind training or something like that in person, then it's like, though it's worked well for that. And that 32-bit float helps with the loudness of the speakers and stuff. So I've not had any complaints with it at all. It's a stellar unit. And like I said, right now, it's just a firmware game when it comes to stuff at this point. It's too long, my good sister. Indeed it has. And by the way, I rented the Nikon Z6 III. It's right next to me right now. I see you have not been delivered from the throes of the enemy. You still, my brother, have not converted over to Team Sony. What art thou doing? Okay, no, I'm just kidding. It's quiet as kept. Nikon uses Sony sensors. It's not the same autofocus, obviously, because their technology or whatever. But like I said, I've said this on other streams and stuff before. Nikon is the brand, in my opinion, right now, that is that bear getting ready to wake up from hibernation. And it's like, oh, I've been sharpening my claws. I've been getting ready. I've been, you know what I mean? I just, their acquisition of Red, the cameras that they've been releasing, there are some things that I would still like to see from their creator level line of cameras and maybe prosumer line of cameras and stuff like that, to where you have more complete reliability, not just good reliability, but more of like, I truly don't have to think about it, reliability, autofocus. And I think, again, when it comes to features, firmware and software updates, I personally think Nikon is that barilla that's been sleeping. That's like, you'll see. You know what I mean? That's what I think. And I think that is going to be the thing that's needed to kind of put some of everybody on notice of what the new state of stuff is, because already software wise and firmware wise, they already have been incrementally just making their existing lineup stronger simply with firmware updates. And they've been doing this for like the last year and a half heavy. So I think Nikon is that brand that's just going to be unable to be undeniable. Just like a lot of people fanatic about the Lumix S5 Mark II. I think we're around the corner, if not already right there, from Nikon dropping something that just has you like, what? And so I'm waiting to see it. Saying I went in the old school direction, just got the Canon 5D Mark IV, beast of a camera, and all those EF lenses. Well, Jeffrey Charles, good to see you. Glad that you are here. So you got like the camera that I remember when this one came out, a lot of people were frustrated because this is back in the day when we were still waiting for basic stuff. We went with 10-bit is not even a thought. RAW is not even a thought. We're just like, we're happy with good autofocus, but everybody's like, when is 4K coming? When are we going to be able to get whatever? So those 4K files were a bit unmanageable for the time. It's probably no big deal now. So I would definitely say you definitely still have a clean camera. Yes, you do have all of those EF lenses, and to a point, I don't know what they did with the newer phase detection autofocus in the cameras. That like dual pixel autofocus was undeniably good, very, very good. And I don't know what happened with them in the newer mirrorless cameras, but when they first came out, it was just not as good. So you definitely have a great camera. I wonder what those file sizes are like if you tried them like in 4K today, because all my memory serves is of the way of how frustrating they were to work with at the time, and like big and just like slow and arduous it made that process, versus now it probably isn't that big of a deal. So you might have caught a sleeper giant. Like you might have caught that one that's just like, dang, this would be good. The only thing with DSLR is it's like the internal preamps were not great. Honestly, here's a thought. What if we did have a resurgence and a re-release of some of those great DSLR cameras, not mirrorless, DSLR, and they did make some updates. Still kept it a DSLR, same bodies, but they updated stuff like the preamp, update the USB port, update like add Wi-Fi, whatever type stuff, and like just it's not necessarily but it's like a what do you call it? I'm trying to think. It's like when you bring something back, like kind of like how the McRib always comes back, or like the Disney movies come out the vault. I would love to just see a re-presentation of those to a point, just like, hey, just in case, you know, like it's like, yeah, mirrorless is the thing, and I get it, but if you're gonna get one, it just will be interesting to see, just to do something different, but we shall see. Megs, we're gonna pray for you. Bow your head. Bow your head for prayer. And just stay that way. All right? Stay that way to the end of the stream. So did you see the Z52? Saying it's got the new X-Speed 7 10-bit H.265. Honestly, the Z50 2, and I'm gonna put this in, we'll pull it up, I'm not impressed with what I'm seeing with those level cameras, because they just aren't this. Again, it's not there yet, in my opinion. You don't have the lenses like that, creator lenses. You do have, they're very different than with the newer RF Canon line of stuff, where you really don't have APS-C lenses for that one. You don't have that many APS-C lenses, but you're getting them through third parties. So that's changing. But honestly, it wasn't anything with the Z50 Mark II or the original Z50 that was just like, oh, dang, it just, you know what I mean? Like, let me pull it up so we can all take a look. We can take a gander. So if we take a look over here, so let's see here. All right, so definitely APS-C. The one thing I will appreciate is that these have great grips. The Nikon cameras are very comfortable. The little buttons, it's always those people with like really big hands, like, I can't get my fingers here. I don't have no problems with those. So, okay, got the regular dial, ISO, that's cool. I don't mind this kind of design or whatever. I actually prefer it over like the Fuji thing and feel like you're throwing up gang signs to do basic stuff. You have charging port, you have a mic port, you have a headphone port. Again, I'm just not that jazzed with what Nikon is doing. Where are the lenses? Where's the fun? It's not just about like base level specs. That's what we expect. Where's the fun? So 20.9, essentially 21 megapixel sensors, 4K 60, 1080p 100. Those are, it's honestly at this day and age base level expectations of like, cool, that's good. Improved autofocus, yet to be seen in my opinion. We'll see how that plays out. It will probably get better. Whatever it is now, it's probably good, and it will probably continue to get better. Again, it's like, for me, so it's got the pre-release capture thing. Okay, cool. For me though, I like, where's the fun? Where's the stuff that makes creating even more fun? That's the stuff that I want. These are base level stuff that we expect now. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, should it have 4K? It should already have it. Should it have 1080p 120? We've had that for years already. Not maybe in the Nikon, because the Z line is newer, but it's like, we've already had that stuff for a while. It is a much better update than I think it was there. What was that, a Z30 maybe? Or a Z50, whichever one had the flip down screen, which is always an odd option. I don't know why they even think of doing that. Got the flippy screen. It meets the base stat requirements of like what a good creator camera would be, in my opinion. It definitely hits it without question. My question though is, again, autofocus, where are we at now? Because it's always going to be different with the videos that come out at release versus when it actually gets in the hands and stuff like that, and a little bit thereafter. They're always working on it. But it's just, I'd like, where are the lenses? Where's the fun? What other stuff did you add in to whatever with their first Z50, I think it was, or maybe this is Z30 or something like that? They came out with their own product showcase mode type something, which is basically any camera you can manufacture this, kind of like with the A6700, and I did that video showing how. Basically just do zone focus. You can have face turned on or off, but if you do zone focus on the camera, then whatever you hold up in that space, it's going to acquire focus. So that's more or less the same thing. So they have their own version of a product showcase mode. Again, where's the fun level stuff? That's why I went with the ZV cameras, because they got some freaking fun in them. Follow me around. We got the AI reframing. We got other stuff in there. Where's the fun? Okay, we're going to spend this much money on a camera. We're going to make it an investment. Make it worth the while of whatever. The other thing with this is, I am curious. It is just my own curiosity with the Nikon lineup is, what's next? Where is your equivalent to the ZV-E1? Allegedly. Again, where's the creator-based stuff? Where's the fun? Where's the like, hey, we were thinking like y'all make these kind of content or whatever. You can already, like, where's that kind of stuff? That's the part of the conversation that's missing for me. That's in my opinion. You know what I mean? Saying a Canon 5D Mark IV is still a beast. Same for the Nikon DA50. The DA50, I don't think anybody's going to argue with the quality of how good that was at the time and how good it still is now. It just depends on what you're trying to do. Saying the S5 Mark II has piqued my interest as well. It's a good camera. Not going to hold you. It's a good camera. Saying big hand person here. It was one of my biggest issues with the older Sony bodies. Again, you men with these bigger, because Doc is another one. He's like, oh, Miss D, my hands can't. And I'm like, so? Like, so? Like, what about us? Okay, for the slender hands, just normal. We don't have any problems with that stuff. You know what I mean? So, but I get it though. And that was something that I always used to find before I got into cameras for real, to know what to look for one way or the other. You see reviews and people, I can't, my pinky's falling off. I'm like, how big is your other fingers? And shoot. And it's just like, well, my hand is, my pinky's falling off. And I'm like, how big are your hands? Like, and then it's like Doc, you see Doc in person, it's like, yeah, so, and my hands kind of, I'm like, okay. It's like, valid point, but that's not everybody. Shoot. So I think Nikon is still catching up. They flopped their first couple of rounds of mirrorless cameras. I wouldn't say they flopped. They just trying to get buy-in. And I think that's the biggest thing. Can we get buy-in? And if you can get buy-in, great. What they haven't done yet is convert over. The level of, if you think about it, the level of people that went from a previous Nikon, Canon, Lumix camera body converted over to, at some point, Canon or Sony, and those were the options. You may have other ones, but not, I'm saying like mass exodus. So you had mass exodus going to Canon or Sony. Then you'll have those that may add on another brand that they like. They'll add on a Fuji. They'll add on a Nikon, or that if they already have it or whatever, if they liked it for a photography line of stuff. Omar Gonzalez is another good example of that. And so I think that's his name anyhow. And so if you look at that, they'll have their main for whatever it was with video, and then they'll have an add-on that may be a different brand. The difference is now you don't have where you have people making a mass exodus to Nikon. Nobody's leaving Canon or Sony or Fuji and they're going over to Nikon in mass exodus. It's not happening. You did have where you had recently quite a bit of an exodus or an add-on to the Lumix S5 Mark II or S5 Mark II X, I think it is, whatever the blackout edition is. So you had those where like, I'm going to go over here and I can be plenty happy with just this camera. And so you did have quite a bit of a conversion over there. And so I'm not saying still where it was like a mass exodus conversion from anybody else to Canon for real, like that. They're maintaining who they already have. And so now we have everybody that's kind of maintaining their own, making stuff. There's just kind of like micro iterations of things. So I think looking ahead at what's to come, Nikon has the potential. Lumix has the potential. I don't know what else is to come between Canon and Sony or whatever, because like what's out now is good. It's a level of anxiety to a point because of the overheating type concerns across certain bodies and stuff. That's just like everybody's waiting for that to be resolved. And then I think like more or less joy with cameras and stuff will come up to a point. But I think it would be done right. It could be an exodus to Nikon, but they have a lot of stuff to fix and to get up on. Canon is just out in the wind. Like I said, they're maintaining. I don't even know nobody's adding on the Canon body personally, or just even in the space like that. They're maintaining who they already have. They're comfortable with it. They like it. They use it. They stay with it. But it's like their third party ability of letting people just use the third party, make lenses for their stuff from third parties. That was a big red flag to me of just like, okay, so I'm never going back to Canon. Like, it's not even a possibility because there's no point at this point. Like, y'all still playing the same game, just on different rounds. You still have people complaining about the same stuff, like, we'll give you this, but you can't have this. We'll give you this, but you can't have this game. Yeah, I'm not playing that game, because the only game that's happening is in the bank account. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to get shortchanged one way or the other. So I'm like, I'm going to go where I'm going to be happy. Found a home with Sony, and just like, that's where I'm home. It's like, other ones look fun. Like the Lumix S9 looks fun to me. The Lumix S5 Mark II X or whatever could be fun. Some stuff there or whatever. Nikon hasn't done that yet. It's just like, they're maintaining their people, more or less. I'm not seeing a bunch of people convert over, but they have the potential to drop some heat. They really do. If they can get more adapters from the third-party lenses to just like make more lenses for them. And then the biggest thing that brands, and I'm gonna get off my rant, the biggest things that brands would have to do, when you think about who do people love, they got to get their brand affinity up. Canon's brand affinity dropped. I'll be honest with you, Sony's brand affinity to a point has wavered a little bit, because people are not, they're happy, they're okay, but they're not like overjoyed. It was at one level like people were extremely overjoyed, and then so that kind of like that affinity starts to like, I'm happy, but I'm not happy. And then you have Nikon, it's just like kind of maintaining. Maybe some people are happy with it, and that's fine, but it's not overjoyed. The brand that can build their affinity, whether that be the creator market, photography market, or whatever, to be like, we're overjoyed with what we have, is the ones that's going to win. In my opinion, right now, I think Sony still takes the lead in that. And then you may have some Canon people or whatever, but I still think Lumix hits even harder than that, honestly. So that's why I'm like, whoever wins in brand affinity, make people love you the most by you best serving them. Again, in my opinion, is going to be Sony, Lumix, then Canon, then Nikon. Fuji people love their stuff, so they throw them in there somewhere. But it's like, whoever wins that, then that's who really, like, you would have had to have been around in the market to see the amount of like brand trust, affinity, and love for Canon back in the day. Nikon who? Sony who? You know what I'm saying? They were trying to like, no. It was like one or the other, A or B. You could choose Canon. You maybe, if you're doing photography, you had Nikon, but that was about it, because you're not going over there for video. If you're a creator, you get into content creation at any point, it was Canon hands down. And then Sony came into the market, Fuji got in there, and it was fun. So it's like, now we got to rebuild that up some more. Noel Swatowski, good to see you. Glad that you're here. Welcome back. Saying, what did I miss? We only talked about wonderful goodness of white chocolate, Noel. That's all. Saying Sony is doing victory laps with their APS-C cameras, to be honest. I'm still using the A6400. That's a good way to say that. I agree. Because, like I said again, like I was saying earlier, everybody's like, it's really hard to make people overjoyed, happy with, I can't believe, mind-boggling stuff. For me, that was the ZVE1. No, I take that back. First round of that, FX30. There's literally a video sitting in the back of my YouTube studio that never got released, because I'm like, this is the camera that Sony will never make, but absolutely should. And almost to the T, minus it being an FX series line of cameras, it was an APS-C camera, and it had all of that. And then they added on a couple more things, and I was like, we are not releasing that video because the FX30 is coming out. They did it. So, but I'm like, this is the direction that needs to, like, this is what needs to happen. And that camera literally came out. And I screamed around the house like my favorite football team won the Super Bowl. And I was like, I literally was freaking out. And that does not happen. And then when the ZVE1 came out, and I'm like, the hell with everybody. So everybody, that camera's no good. It's and why would I get that over my A7S3? They ain't got a lot of A7S3 folks. I'm like, this camera's the Bangarang Peter. Like, what are y'all talking about? And I've been in love ever since. I'm in a committed relationship. Okay, I'm not going anywhere. If anything, I'll upgrade to whatever comes out after this. If it's a ZVE1 Mark II or something like that, then I'll get that. If it's ZVE1 II, I'll probably get that. Because the only thing that they can probably do at this point is really, 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 really resolve finally any overheating concerns that somebody may have, like we had with the A6400, ZVE10 Mark I, and stuff like that. So other than that, I'm home and happy with Sony. We're having a grand old Opry. Eco Photo saying exactly the big hands thing. I can see, glad you're here. I'm just saying, like, I don't know. So like, here's my mug. You see how that four fingers easily fits in here. If this was Doc, he'd be like 2 and a possible. Okay. So I hear y'all, but I mean, come on. Who needs that? I mean, we need a gap from like this to like this. I tried those camera and I'm like, I get my hand in here just fine. My pinky fits just fine. It's probably because 2 of my fingers is like the equivalent, or 1.5 of my fingers is like one of y'all. So I get it though. So it's like the big hands thing. Y'all in the community, all on y'all own. But it would be cool if they like did a version that's just like, or you can request a version that they give you a little bit of extra space. Same thing. They just have a frame that is a little bit wider. So if you do have thicker hands and it's like, oh, we thought about you. You can now get your pinky up there. Come join the crew. You know, Caesar Blue Hive or Blue 5 maybe. PH makes an F sound. So Blue 5, good to see you. Glad that you are here. Meg saying, very great point. Nikon is trying to get their older audience to embrace the mirrorless, that the old faithfuls. Those were some of the angriest men I ever met before in my life. Not even kidding. The days of when people would come and comment on my channel 3 seconds after a video goes live. I don't understand why you people won't just get a camcorder. You always messing up stuff. You always messing up stuff. And y'all need to stop asking for video stuff. This is a camera. This ain't no camcorder. You need to get you a cinema camera. And I'm like, oh, there you are. There you are. We were looking for you everywhere, Steve. Because if it wasn't a screaming Steve in the comment section, I kid you not, 3 seconds after the video go live, I hate that y'all keep asking for all this video stuff. Ain't nobody making no daggone. They be so mad. And finally it stopped. And it's just like, are we done now? Because like they cleaned up the lineups, allegedly. You got video lines, photo lines, creator lines. And then you may have, to a point, hybrid lines, which usually teeters in that video line. And then you have like if they have a base model, like an A7 III, A7 IV, that's more or less hybrid line. And then you have cinema. It's like, are we done now? Please stop the screaming Steves in the comment sections. Shoot. Jeffrey saying, I can't lie, a full frame DSLR with the battery grip feels so right. Plus the feel and the sound of the shutter. So I'm not a photo person. So my experience with all of that was not like, oh, I gotta hear that trunk and that clack. And it's like, I never had those like emotions. Again, probably because I'm not like a photo person. So I don't have, same thing with the Fuji dials. Like I said, I feel like you're throwing up gang signs, trying to adjust the little dials on top. So I'm like, I'm the problem that the screaming Steves did not like. It's like, I fill out the surveys and say, yes, we want video, we want this, we want whatever. So I don't know. It's just like, for video, for me, DSLRs are definitely not it. Audio preamps are terrible, absolutely horrendous in every single last DSLR. And that was like the biggest thing, because it sounds like if I turned all of my audio stuff off and you just only heard like the space heater level noise in there, it's like you get, and it's like, I'm so over that. Like, and I could never go back. I can never go back. As soon as I found mirrorless was a thing, I'm like, this is my jam. Saying those Canon lenses are too expensive. I love my Lumix S5 Mark II. I hear you. Solomon321, good to see you. Glad you're here. So, agree. I think it is something to be said about having that jewel Bee's Knees Hall of Fame level glass. And they dropped with those lenses. But again, I remember one of my friends asking me, she was like, because I always ask, like, what brand do you want to stick with? Or do you just want my general recommendation of what's best based on your use case? Or do you have a brand that you want to stick with? And she was like, I want to stick with Canon. I'm like, okay. Go through all the specs of, or go through all the list of things of what she needs and what she wants, based on how she intends to create. And then I'm like, okay, do you have a budget or a price range that you prefer to stay under? Get the price range, all the stuff. And she's like, well, where's the lenses? They don't have any. You got that bunk kit lens. Thankfully, now you got like the Sigma 16 or whatever that came out. But I'm like, you stuck with whatever they shoot. Like, so I'm gonna have to spend another like $1,200-$1,500 on this like 15 to 35 f2.8. She's like, ain't nobody else. She's like, it's no other. I'm like, don't yell at me. I didn't make these cameras. I'm like, this is the option. I'm like, are you open to going to a different brand, or do you want to stay with? She's like, no, I want to stay with them. And I'm like, okay, then this is where you at. And so that forced a lot of people to stay on the EOS M line, which in my opinion still could have been integrated in some way into, like, they could have did something. We didn't need a brand new M50 on the RF line or whatever, because it was better because you had a ton of EFM lenses for that lineup. And so I'm like, then at that point, I'm like, you're looking at the M6 Mark II, Canon M50 Mark II, or something like that does have all of the lenses that you could want and use, from vlogging lenses to lenses that look great, like the Sigma 16 indoors, a little heavier, but if it's on a tripod, it don't matter. And so that was the route. You know, it's like, may try this newer thing. It's just like, I just stick with what I got until the lenses come out, which is how many years later now since the RF line has been came out, and how many more years on top of that since the they made an RF APS-C. So that's why I was like, I saw the writing on the wall a long time ago. This is why I'm like Team Sony, and it's like I make recommendations for what people want and what their needs are, not just on what I like. But it's like, yeah, that was just like, so yeah, them Canon lenses are like, they need to figure that out. What is up, David Hunt? Good to see you. Glad that you are in the build, IEA. Same question. What are your thoughts on the Tamron 28 to 300 millimeter? I just saw it the other day. It's f4 to 7.1. My thing is this: when you start getting into extended ranges, what's the use case? Now, if you're going to be at a basketball game, if you're going to be at a football game, track and field, you're doing something where you need to hit extreme distances, landscape even, where you're not going to feel the bite of that f4 to the f7 range, more or less, because you would need it to be at least like f2.8 feels shallow the further down range you get, and the more you're trying to capture something, f2.8 starts to feel shallow. And honestly, that's why it's like the people that do that kind of a work, and they use those 7200s, 600 millimeter, whatever, something, they get those razor tack sharp photos. It's not just autofocus alone. It's like skill baked into that as well, because f2.8 feels shallow on the far end that the more you start to go. The difference is the lighting. So if you're going to be outdoors, you're going to be someplace with fair to decent lighting, you more or less probably have a camera body that's great for that, if I recall. Even if you're doing video. So like, that's good for you in the back of the room. You got your camera set up or whatever. You're on the opposite side of that room, like a big conference room, like when I did one speaking engagement, and you need to get way down the line. But f4 is going to be plenty fine because of the depth. You need to show more than just from the eyeball to the ear. You know what I'm saying? So that's when those kinds of lenses start to be better. I have no complaints whatsoever about Tamron lenses. They are incredible. My favorite of their bunch is between that 17 to 28 and 28 to 75 f2.8. Personally, I love the 28 to 75 f2.8. Throw in a Black Pro Mist feature. Black Pro Mist. What is this? Filter. I said feature. Filter. Throwing a Black Pro Mist filter on there. Chef's kiss. Best. Just some of the. It just. Oh, and then the other thing I love about Tamron lenses is the way that, I don't even know how they do this technologically. Obviously it's possible, but they pretty much darn near act as macro lenses to a point because of how short the minimum focusing distance is. It's really incredible. And like, all of their lenses tend to have this kind of characteristic, but 28 to 75, not 28 to 75, but 28 to 300, Like I said, it's good when you need to get down range, you need to go far at length or whatever. 28, like this is like if you needed to record somebody's talk, speeches, whatever, and you just need the range. You don't want to pop on and off lenses. You just need the range. Great. Because 28 to 75 is not always going to get you there. For instance, I just don't know how often that is going to be useful, but it depends on your use case. I said I don't have no complaints about Tamron lenses. They're a good brand. They're good stuff. Janet Baji, I think that's right. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Saying hi all. I missed out on this live. Yes, you did. Yes, you did. Stand in the corner. Stand in the corner. No, I'm just kidding. So, said A7C Mark II is what you're using. So yeah, if I'm thinking like properly, I could talk. Like I said, usually when I'm looking at something like that, you just need the range. You're not trying to, so like event type work, even, you're not trying to swap between lenses because sometimes there are things that are happening. You don't have time to switch between your medium range to your extended range to what happens when you get close. You just need to be able to go in and out. Like I said, the F4 is great if you're not trying to have feel like razor depth of field, because the F2.8 is great. Lets in more light to the camera sensor. That's what I love about F2.8 constants, but F4 is not bad. You're just going to be a little bit higher on ISO, but these newer cameras don't have issues with noise. Honestly, at this day, we're cherry picking. It's like people zoom in 8,000%. Nobody's going to do that. Nobody's going to do that in real life. You know what I mean? So as long as you have good lighting, if you're doing anything, even in kind of photo work, you got a flash or whatever, you'll be fine. It just depends on the use case. But just because it's a bit much, I think. It depends. Saying what the tethered like with the Sony and Lightroom. Are you asking what is the tethered? Like maybe photography, I'm guessing. And I have no idea. I am not a photography, in English, I am not a photography person. I have no idea what that experience is like. I can't speak to it by any means whatsoever. So you would have to ask one of my fellow creators on the platform in the camera space that actually does photography work to that point. I have no idea. And I'm just being 100% honest with you. I'm trying to think who I know on YouTube that talks about that kind of stuff. Tethered. You may be able to find some content on Adorama's, like the camera store. Adorama does a lot of photography based stuff. Sometimes they'll have like vlog BTS stuff, and like you'll find little gems in there about that kind of stuff. Because when they do testing, I like Adorama because they think sometimes outside the box a little bit with the perspective. And the main guy that does the content there, he is more photography based. He does both, but he's more photography based and stuff like that. And he teaches on photography. So even if you ask your question in a comment there on one of those, they're more likely or more apt to reply. I'm trying to think what the other dude name is. Manny Ortiz, I think it is. He does a lot of studio work. I don't know. I don't see him being tethered, but Manny Ortiz is another YouTube channel. Actually, let me pull up brother Manny. So you can see who I'm talking about. He does a lot of studio work, and he's definitely posting more studio based stuff for his YouTube channel. And it's just like it sounds, Manny Ortiz. So let me show my brother from another mother. So this is Manny. He does a lot of stuff for photography specific, and he does a lot of studio work. So and the other thing that I love about Manny's content, his quality is absolutely exceptional. So if you want to, like, so this is what I'm talking about. He'll do like where you can see him shooting. Sometimes you'll see from a first person perspective of like a camera on top. That's like really cool. So he's done a lot more in studio based type stuff. So check out brother Manny. He's more into the photography based stuff. You may not always get a reply, but sometimes you can find gems in the comments anyway. So that's what I would recommend. And then the other one I was talking about, Adorama, is the camera store. They've done a lot too. I don't know if that even tether. See what comes up. There you go. So I'm gonna drop this link for this in the chat, and hopefully that'll help. And let me get Manny's YouTube channel as well. But yeah, if you ever need to search for something on YouTube, pro tip, if you don't know this already, on desktop, it's not on mobile. You'll see this search thing, and then you can come in here and type in, even for like my channel, whatever, you'll see this. So I'll drop in Manny Ortiz and see what comes up for tethering, because I don't know specifically what you're looking for, but hopefully that helps. But those are two dope creator channels that will be more helpful than the help that I can provide. And you have been helped. Welcome to the Helpcast. You have been helped. Shoot. Saying thank you very much for referring others to help. You're very welcome. Very welcome. Keith, Black Mosifus, the Black Poet. So his is the Convos. I'm glad you brought up our brother, because he has grown his level of work incredibly well. So this is one of my friends. I thought of him, but I'm like, I don't know if he does tethering. So this is a friend, an actual friend of mine. So this is, I call him Mosifus. It's not. If you comment though on one of his, I've seen him do more lives and stuff recently. But if you follow him on Instagram, see if he got his Instagram stuff on here. No. But if you follow him on Instagram, I see a lot more stuff of his photography. Yeah. So I don't see a ton here, but if you comment again, more or less, maybe he'll reply. I haven't seen a ton of stuff from him here recently on, yeah. I ain't seen a ton from him, but he'll also do a lot of photography stuff, Facebook, Instagram, more specifically. Maybe see if I can find him on Instagram. But his photography work is exceptional. And I'll see if I can find that in the background. But usually, it's like those are the top two that I go to. But if you're trying to learn something, probably Adoram. If you want to see use case something, probably Manny. He don't do a ton of tutorial stuff, but you'll see a lot of stuff like that. So hopefully that helps. And I'll find Keith's stuff on Instagram. All right, here he is. All right, let me show you. All right, so this is our brother Keith Pelzer. I call Mosifus the Black Poet. But this is like his photography work. Like, his stuff is exceptional. And these are like self-portraits and stuff that he does. And so like his work is exceptional. And he does work with like clients or whatever. His beautiful wife, Patina. And so, yeah, if you at least hit him up, he'll reply probably. But yeah, he does a lot of great work. He even got some reels and stuff. So hopefully that'll help. I'll drop his stuff in there as well for that. And you have been helped. And so shout out to our brother from another mother. All right, let's see what other questions we got. And we're going to wrap this up, bring it on home. And we don't have no more. That was it. Day 72. All righty. Saying exactly event work. There you go. That's the only thing. F2.8 for event work type stuff is where I would probably start looking into F2.8, because the lighting always varies. And sometimes you don't always want to have to adjust for the ISO, but honestly, you'll be fine. And when you look at those type cameras, like, for example, ZBE1, great example. Even though it's not marketed of having the dual ISO, what you will find if you do your own tests, it has dual native ISO at every picture profile standard in there. It doesn't matter, and it differs for the different ones. There's a graphic. Matter of fact, let me pull this up because I keep it on my phone. So when I'm out and about and I need to see, I'm like, oh, this picture profile would be better in this environment. What is the dual native ISO for this one? I just saved my own little thing in my that I made a graphic for a video, which was inspired by, I can't think of what his name is right now, but I'm gonna put it up on the screen real quick just so y'all can see. Airdrop and give me overlays. Then we're gonna drop you here. And here we go. All right, so this is what I keep on my phone. And you feel free to screenshot this because it's pretty common around stuff, but it's usually somewhere in the ballpark. But like on any of your newer cameras, this is like that. This is more or less like a secret feature. that you have dual native ISO, where the ISO gets cleaner at any level, any picture profile that you are using. So whether you're going from no picture profile, you're using one of the Cines, one of the HLGs. I like to use the i2-709. That's been my standard for years. And I'll do a mix of that between i2-709 and S-Cinetone or S-Log3. But I'm not huge into color grading, and it's not always necessary for me. So I don't really touch that often. But I keep this on my phone. So if I'm like, oh, this would be better, because dynamic range differs at all of these. And so I'm like, oh, okay, I should use this. But I'm like, what's the cleanest ISO closest to what I need? Then I'll do this. But if you do your own test, you will find that one of these cameras has, like, depending on what you're at, you'll find that they'll have all these dual native ISOs. So this is the one for the ZVE1. I just keep this on my phone, so no matter what, I can always figure out what is the closest ISO that I can go to, and then I adjust my settings accordingly. But it's probably still true for the A7C Mark II. I just don't know the numbers. But it's probably true for that camera as well to some degree. And the way that you test this, put the lens cap on, hook your camera up as if you were live streaming. And you can show the settings on screen. Just turn off your clean HDMI. So you want all of the info and all of the icons on the screen. Hook it up to Ecamm or whatever, or you can use QuickTime even. And so then what you want to do is just record and just give it a second. And what you'll see is as you go from setting to setting, you'll see the noise, or like I call it, sprinkles in the shot. You'll see sprinkles start to show up, and then you'll hit that base ISO and it just goes clean. And you're like, oh crap, that looked good. And so you see it get noisy, 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 and then it'll just boop, it'll clean up. And just night and day difference. It's not like you need to have an eye for it. It literally is a night and day difference. So you just put the lens cap on when you're doing that test, and then just record it. So you're looking at it on your screen, but record it, jot those numbers down. You can make your own graphic in Canva or whatever. And I just keep that on my phone, so I always know, depending on what I need, how much dynamic range does this profile setting have, if I don't want to use S-Log3 or whatever. Some are better than others, and they all have certain use cases where they're better for. And so it's like, I'm like, this will be better for this. I'm like, what's the base ISO for that? So that's what I use. Let's see here. Saying much appreciated. You're very welcome. Glad to be of service. Saying it was good hearing from you. Happy Thanksgiving. Indeed. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out here in these real and digital streets. Saying my Tamron 28-200 is fine, but I wanted additional range. Clear image zoom, depending on what you're trying to do. Clear image zoom as well. Saying also using the ZVE1. Yep, clear image zoom to a point will be the thing to do. And then sometimes you have to zoom with your feet and actually get in closer. Saying show that chart again, please. Sure thing. Feel free to take a screenshot of this. Let me take the comment down real quick. So this is true on the ZVE1. Unfortunately, this was not true on the A6700. So it has it for S-Log3. It does not have it for everything. But usually if you test, this is like sometimes a secret feature depending on what sensor is on that camera. So my sensor in the ZVE1 is coming from the A7S3. It was marketed on that camera, but not on this one, because the creator market probably wouldn't care about this a ton. But the more you get into video, you do care about it. You're just not right out the gate. So at any of these levels, you can test your camera. Certain ones, I know these to be true for the ZVE1. It cleans up at all of these different ranges. Yeah, so take a screenshot of this. Feel free to save it because this works. And so I like this a ton, and I just keep this on my phone, save it as a favorite. So going down in 3, 2, and... All right, y'all. Hope y'all got a lot of value, got a lot of great joy, got some tips out of this. Make sure you join for next week for my Black Friday extravaganza stream, where even I'm offering my own Black Friday deal, which I have not done in many years. And so this is going to be a one-time deal that you definitely are going to want to catch next Friday. I'm going to be live helping you going through the gear purchases. What are some of the best buys for the day? Also going to have a page where you can keep up with those listings. So even once the stream is over, you can keep up with the best buys for the stuff. But we'll go through stuff, help you fix your kit. And we may open up for a live camera clinic that day just to kind of help if you're having issues with your settings. And we go from there. But otherwise, guys, make sure you enjoy your day, love on your family, drink some water, and I will see y'all in the next stream next week here on the Friday Live Helpcast. With that, guys, create, post, repeat, and I will see y'all on the next one. Peace.